Yeah, it's a great honor to be here. I'm also excited to speak at a slightly different style conference for myself related to content. Bit of my background, my name is Stephen Kim. I'm co-founder and CEO of Craved in Indonesia. We are the leading food discovery platform. A bit of my background, it's good to be back in Singapore actually. It's been interesting to see this whole internet digital world evolve because I've been starting online companies since 2011. And I think I have some former ex-colleagues here. Started Zalora in Singapore back in late 2011. Beforehand, sold holiday rentals with a similar model like Airbnb. And then afterwards went on to Indonesia to start selling office supplies online. And if you think about it, like travel accommodation and then fashion and then office supplies, it has some kind of frequency to it. Like travel is like 2 times a year, fashion is 4 times a year, office supplies is once a month. And that kind of drove me to start a platform in food because we wanted to be something that accommodates frequent needs. And one thing we've learned in Indonesia is that Indonesian people they absorb the world and the internet via mobile first. They also absorb the internet via social and chat first. So one of the things that I think we sit on a different situation with iPrice is that SEO, we saw that Google was not the biggest channel that people were looking for when it came to food. Just wanted to give you a bit of context on that. One of the things that Crave really aspires to be is mainly enriching the offline experience. So I think you hear a lot about e-commerce, you hear about a lot of on-demand, which is basically saying, hey, consumer, you can stay where you are. We're going to provide you with value. The biggest difference with Craved is that we want to acknowledge that you are going to leave your office or leave your home, and we want to make that experience better. When it comes to brands in the room or media agencies, I am not going to be talking about attribution too much in this presentation, but that is also a very interesting angle when it comes to Crave and its location-based services, and that's something we could discuss offline. So just want to give you a sense on seeing if you live the same life as I do. So in the old days, and this is like maybe just 6, 7 years ago, you might have started off like looking at a newspaper, starting off on an average day. One of the things that we see that people, especially on a food standpoint, you're a habitual animal, that your Monday looks similar to your Monday, your Saturday looks similar to your Saturday. So let's say you start off like this. But the interesting thing nowadays is that you start off on a mobile app, right? And a lot of our lives, especially in Indonesia, it's not a mobile-first strategy, it's a mobile-only strategy, right? So this is my typical morning. As soon as I get up, I'm looking at my phone. Typically, it could be Facebook, Instagram, emails, chat. It will be some kind of form of that. Obviously, one of the areas that we see Indonesians and a lot of people around the world, there's 4 things that people do every single day. They eat, move, chat, and sleep. One of these areas is started off on a mobile device. Maybe you go to the gym, you work out, use your mobile phone to listen to Spotify. You hear different things there. Maybe you're looking for breakfast or early lunch. You take a photo. I think we were talking about food porn somewhere. It is a behavior that everybody does on a regular basis. And then it's great that I have Uber up on a slide. But yes, you'll use a mobile device to call your ride. And for people that have visited Jakarta, you'll be very familiar with how much time you spend in that position, right? So Jakarta is a very unique location, and you get to really consume a lot of content on this small device. The key thing here I do want to hit upon is while you're watching so much content, how many ads do you see within that? I'm sure there is plenty that actually go through your feed on different channels and some kind of mentioning around that. And the question is, how many do you actually remember? And I think a lot of companies and agencies are trying to really attack this topic. But the key reason why this is so difficult to remember certain topics, and let alone organic or editorial or sponsored or paid. The biggest challenge in your competitor, our competitor, is the scroll, right? We talk about which content is better, which content is more enlightening to speak the voice of the brand. The reality is, if you don't get my attention in the first 1 to 2 seconds, you just scrolled. You see this with a lot of video content as well, where we've started to leverage our video content strategy as well. But we see that a lot of emotional touching videos, especially if you don't capture what the essence is in the first 1 or 2 seconds, you might get a lot of views, but it actually doesn't impact your brand. And the reality is that all channels are very, very different. And I think it's more evident for our industry, where it's offline based. Like you're going out to a mall, you're going out to a certain area. It might be a breakfast or a dinner. It might be a weekend or a weekday. We see that websites or apps, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, chat apps, it's very hard to have a strategy that's just for one channel. And it is very different. For instance, Facebook is the only channel that actually generates virality. Instagram, there's no way for somebody to share that across other platforms. YouTube, the same thing. So when it comes to virality, Facebook is the best channel to get your virality going right now. Sorry for the hardcore Twitter users in the room. In Indonesia, Twitter is not becoming a significant channel for us, and therefore, our core focus is towards these three. Also, when you think about your behavior, and this is just one example, everybody's different. And I think that's the kind of biggest thing that I'd like to highlight, where with the mobile device being there as the main technology, each one, we talk about audiences, we talk about segments, we talk about how do you target these big groups of people. Actually, when you think about consumer behavior, it's very, very individual. And it's very relevant to your individual contextual situation. So like each person might have different types of behavioral traits throughout the week, right? Just because you're a certain age group, you're a certain income level, you work in a certain area, doesn't mean essentially you're going to go to a hawker or you're going to go to a nice restaurant this evening, right? So that relevancy needs to be much more personalized. And luckily, in this era of 2017, you might be hearing a lot of AI, machine learning, big data analytics. All these things are actually enabling us to finally be a bit more personal. But let alone, apart from all this, just audience information, the big thing is that we've learned is actually context. This is relevant to behavior, this is relevant to timing, this is relevant to location. And these are the things that we see that really impact the consumer's mindset itself. Just really easy example. If you think about getting a happy hour promotion in your feed Monday 10 a.m. versus it being in your feed on a Friday 4 p.m., your tendency of how you react to that content is going to be very different, right? And the key thing here is there are companies like Facebook and Google, well, Facebook in general, that facilitate for this, but there's also a lot of other companies that are actually accruing a lot of different type of information to be able to do further targeting on this. So for the brands in the room or the media agencies in the room, I would definitely start looking into this area. It is more glorified than it actually is. The data in it is actually being able to make targeted recommendations and see what goes viral when, and actually driving interest towards purchase behavior. So I think a lot of other speakers have been really highlighting the different components here. Audience is important, channels are super important, but the key thing is contextually you need to get into the right timing and the right location of the users, and that's kind of our mission, to get in the offline journey of wherever you're going, whatever platform you're using, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Craved, whatever it is, will have that one experience to actually drive your interest towards a certain location. So just a brief intro on Craved. We cover 6 cities in Indonesia. We've been around for 4 years. As you can see, just the device side, Indonesia itself is like 85% mobile. And we see that it is a very, very big portion where generally the overall user experience is going. And with this kind of data, what we have is organically, because we are giving restaurant recommendations, we're giving types of places to check out, we already get the data parsed out into price level, to location, what kind of cuisine do you like, when do you look for it, all these kind of things. And it's a matter of mapping these information to those different assets to be able to say, if you run a content campaign, if you run anything and distribute it via a platform, we would be able to parse that back and give you different types of insights on that. So one of the things that we've learned mostly is that it's not the content strategy is not just about the content, right? The content strategy is really about when and how you distribute it. And obviously, previously, your technology and your capabilities was much more limited. But nowadays, you see this to really advance every month, every quarter, every year. And you'll see this kind of really expand further and further, right? And the data is getting more and more accessible for you to target further. I do want to recap that every channel is very different. I think a great learning from the iPrice side, I never thought about content marketing as an SEO strategy, whereas we thought about it as a fully traffic acquisition strategy from Facebook. So I think it's really interesting. But the key thing here is that there are certain strategies that will benefit you in the long run. There will be strategies that benefit you in the short run. Right. So just an example for some of the content we do, also possibly linked to Foodpanda, unfortunately, is not available in Indonesia anymore, is the fact that you can order certain things. The recommendations on what to order also is coming from Craved, and we can deliver the type of content to the right people at the right timing with these kind of data that we've accrued. So the key thing about AI, I think a lot of people have been talking about this. I think one of the examples that people said that I heard at a different conference was that AI is like sex when you're in middle school, right? Everybody's talking about it. You don't know exactly what it is. You think it's really complex, and you think you should know, but it's something that is quite evident out there. One of the quotes that I do want to hit upon is that AI in the next coming future is basically is actually just increasingly powerful forms of automation, right? So of course, depending on the problem you're trying to solve with AI, of course there's more complex problems that AI technology is being used for. But when it comes to this era of media and content marketing and social media and different types of locational targeting, it's actually an extension of what we've been working on. It's just that we have more data and we have more technology to track and target that. So it still boils back to the same thing. Data is crucial to understand all these things. Location is one thing that we are introducing as a data point, because obviously, when you think about it, if you think about a friend, let's say somebody's flying into Singapore, and basically you just know like a few restaurants that a person might be interested in. You kind of know their consumer profile as well. You can actually suggest goods and other things relevant to that. And I would highly encourage to look for platforms like ourselves that could give you this type of insight to be able to really structure your content strategy, not only on the creation side, but also the distribution side on this. So just to give you a sense on how the whole ecosystem in Crave works, we don't contain ourselves just within Crave. So just a clarification point. One thing that we're very different from the local player here, Hungry GoWare, is that we're not just about reviews or content made by Craved or made by Crave users. So we actually have all the We have over 6 million photos pulled from Instagram that is available and indexed to be able to be discovered by location on Craved. We also pull different types of content from different media sites, blogs, and so on, that now it's all in one place. So we see the journey where somebody's watching, seeing something on Instagram, they find it interesting, they can see that content and information on Craved. That links to other photos on Instagram or other articles outside of the network itself. And then you can kind of go back and forth in that circle throughout photos, reviews, articles, video, all that into one. So the key thing that I think a lot of other speakers have been highlighting as well is that it's not just about creation, it is about distribution, and distribution not meaning just audience targeting, but also contextual targeting. So when you're going to distribute what is also highly critical in actually getting your returns. And obviously, depending on your objectives, on where you're, like which layer of the funnel you're trying to drive your customers down, I think it's the most critical part that we've seen. Thank you.